Charles joins us now from Washington. Now, let's simplify this, Charles. What exactly has Republicans, like the guy in Iowa, so angry, very, very specifically?
Well, Republicans win this huge victory in November of last year on the promise to rein in government. A couple of months ago, they come up with a highly ambitious and courageous plan to cut $6 trillion out of our debt so we can actually not go off a cliff, which is where we are headed now. It's created by Paul Ryan. It's then voted on by every Republican in the House except for 4. And that means all of them are committed, will be running on it. And Democrats started attacking it from the beginning as destroying the social safety net and destroying the Medicare, which it does not. It changes the way that Medicare works. And what Gingrich did by going at the very beginning of his campaign, he goes on Meet the Press and he calls the plan radical and right-wing social engineering. Those are the words that Democrats are already using. And you can be sure that every Republican who runs next year for his or her House seat is going to have a Democratic ad that is going to quote Gingrich and say, even Gingrich, the arch-conservative, agrees that it's radical and it's social engineering.
Okay, explain the social engineering angle to me so that even I can understand it. What did Mr. Gingrich mean by that?
Well, I don't understand what he meant by social engineering because, in fact, what Ryan is proposing is instead of the government, as it has for the last 50 years, paying your bills if you're a senior, paying the doctor bill or the hospital bill directly or a part of it. Instead, what would happen is the government would subsidize, give you $15,000 a year to go out and to purchase your own health insurance, the way that retirees from the federal government do and a lot of other places. It's the way the prescription drug benefit in Medicare today works. You go out and you buy insurance, the government subsidizes it. What it does, it introduces choice and competition to lower the cost.
Yeah, you can buy your own insurance, and there's a cap on what the government spends. It's not at the mercy of the healthcare industry, which is starting to charge this and that. Okay, so Gingrich says he doesn't like that. He wants the government to be more involved in the direct payments, and that goes against the Republican creed, correct?
Yeah, but it's one thing to say I have some problems with the structure of the new Medicare proposal. It's another to say it's radical, it's right-wing social engineering.
Yeah, I don't get the social engineering. And by the way,
Gingrich I don't either.
Gingrich is going to be on Greta coming up at 10, so maybe he'll explain that. Okay, so you feel that the former speaker is done as a legitimate candidate. He's lost his conservative base somewhat, and that he's not going to be.
You saw that constituent who was shaking his
He was
hands.
angry, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
It's hard, it's hard to quantify that further, but I do believe that Newt Gingrich has hurt himself in this situation.
Look, he was a bit of a long shot starting out anyway.
Right.
And this makes him a marginal candidate.
And he can't raise money. See, that's the big thing. I'm trying to get across to all our viewers. It's a money game. and when you alienate a large portion of your potential donors, their money's going to go someplace else. Mitt Romney went to Vegas and raised $10 million in a phone-a-thon. I mean, this guy is a money machine. And that's going to help Mitt Romney, despite his problems with Obamacare and Massachusetts Care and everything else.
I think it will. But let me say a word about Gingrich. It isn't only the money. It's a character problem. This is a guy who's a very smart guy. He's got a lot of ideas. Some are smart, some are nuts. But he doesn't have the discipline that you want in a president. Starting out a campaign with a savage attack on a plan that your party is now hitched to, one way or the other, shows that you are not somebody who can measure yourself and act in a presidential way. I think it's a lot of character as well as money.
You know, Charles Krauthammer is wielding a lot of authority within the Republican Party. I know you don't seek that, but I was on the phone with Trump today, and Trump told me he's not going to run for 2 reasons. Number one, the money NBC offered him to extend The Apprentice is so enormous that he can't give that up because he was going to finance his own run. And he told me it'd be like a $300 million turnaround. And number 2, he thinks he gets savaged by the press in very personal ways he doesn't want to put himself and his family through. And those were 2 decision makers. But he did mention you specifically because you kind of marginalized him as a show clown or something like that. He really took that personally, Charles, and he thinks you hurt him in the political arena.
Like Trump, I call him as I see him. And if he can't take the heat, he shouldn't be in the kitchen. And obviously, he fled the kitchen.
Okay, but, you know, he and others believe that you are wielding an enormous amount of power. He says you're a fool, but he also says you mean something. You absolutely mean something. Do you know that? Are you aware of that?
Look, I think the Trump chapter is over. I have no great enjoyment in explaining why I don't think he should be a president or presidential candidate. I say it because I'm asked, and that's what I do for a living.
Okay, but your influence, are you aware of your influence within the party at this point?
I'm told I have influence. But in the years, I mean, I started out 30 years ago. I haven't changed how I say things, what I say, and why I say them.
You're a straight shooter.
Influence or not, there's only one way to do with this job. You say what you think, or you get out of the business.
Okay, and I think I subscribe to that as well, Charles, and it's nice to see you as always.